Hi, it's Amanda with A.J.E. What We Do. And today I am going to be putting some stuff in the ground. So it's June 2nd. It's really late for me to be putting some of the seedlings that I've been growing inside in the ground. Been holding off because, I don't know if you can hear it in the background, we've had a lot of cicadas. And I was trying to not put them in the ground outside until most of the cicadas were gone, but we probably have another week or two of them and I can't delay anymore. They're inside, they're gonna start like kind of running out of space for their roots with the pots that I had. So we've got to get them in the ground. So it's time to take the fabric off and start planting some of these guys. All right, so I took the fabric off that I had on top of the garden beds. I'm just kind of airing it out because I'm gonna end up putting it on the very top again to try to prevent things from flying directly onto my seeds. But we got to do this. So just coming over here, I've done some setup already, and you can see actually my strawberries have been very healthy. Having that fabric on top has protected them. I'm going to be coming out here later today and pulling some of them that are red, but they're doing great. So we've been doing right by them. Hopefully not too many birds come in and eat some of these that haven't turned yet. My potatoes are looking pretty good too, and the parsley. I had to come in and trim the parsley some just because it was starting to flower. Never had parsley come this early. Oh, you can see I missed a few of them here, so I'll need to come back, trim a little bit more, but I'm gonna have fresh parsley right out the bat here. And then come through and set up for the tomatoes and cucumbers. So we got some cherry tomatoes we're going to be doing again this year. Roma tomatoes, been very successful with those. I'm going to try a large tomato as well. And then my cucumbers will be here in the front. Might need to get a little bit more trellis for them. I can always go to the store and add more, especially since it's going to be here in the front. And then I have space for my carrots. And then you can look over here. The green onion has been growing like crazy. My garlic is actually almost ready to go. And then I couldn't get cilantro or basil to take this year from seeds, so I went ahead and just bought some because I like to have that. And you can see over here I have my seeds all ready to go. If you look here, like my cucumber starting to wilt a little bit, and that's because it's running out of room for its roots. So that's part of the reason why I've got to get these in the ground. And then my tomatoes have been getting pretty tall, so we got to get those in too. Just to kind of continue with what we've already got in the ground. I'd planted some corn. The back row I did 2 weeks ago. The front row I did a week ago, so you can see it's coming through. I did the 2 kernels again like I did last year just to make sure that something took. So you can see that we actually have duals for most. There's a couple that is just the one, which is fine. And then whichever one does not grow as tall, we'll end up trimming up, so that way there's one stalk that comes in, just because the roots, they need to not fight each other. So we will only go forward with one in each spot. But those are coming in soon. And then I also, over here, already put some kale in the ground and some beans. You can see some of my beans are growing tall there. And then I've got some that I just planted some seeds directly into the ground there in the front. So we're going to see how the beans take. And also I put peas in the ground too. I didn't start those inside. I just went ahead and did them outside straight just because we've got, those seem to do really well when we just plant them straight outside. So we're going to give them a shot. You can see some of those cicadas here. They end up being kind of nutritious. So we're just going to leave them to finish decaying in the ground. And then on this side is where we had the corn last year. We're switching it up. We're going to put the pumpkin over here. So you can see I've got pumpkin started. That one I had started inside. I've also got some acorn squash going. That one didn't transplant very well, or I actually think something came in and grabbed it. So minor success, some that still is a little bit wanting. But we'll see how it takes. I did one other pumpkin seed directly in the ground, so that's why I put that little wooden piece there, so I know where it is when it starts hopefully taking. And then we've got the ladders all set up as my trellis for the pumpkin. And then one thing that we're doing special this year is I'm coming to the side of the garage where we don't have garden boxes, but we had just space. And I turned up the soil right here. I'm going to be planting beans and corn over here. So not in a garden box. I want to see how it does. So we're going to give that a shot. Just took one of the cucumbers out of my little pod, and you can see how the roots really got to the edge. So this is what I meant by we got to get the cucumbers in the ground because they were starting to run out of room for the roots. It's not true for everything that's in my little planter, but it's definitely true for the cucumbers. So we're just going to plant those and plant the rest while we're at it. Well, we got our tomatoes in the ground. You can see those in the back there. We've got 2 cherry tomatoes here, Roma tomato, and then one of the large kind of bullnose sized tomatoes. Then we also have the cucumber here in the front. So I ended up with 3 cucumber plants. These 2 are actually the mini cucumbers, so they aren't going to grow that big. We're going to see about pickling some whole cucumbers this year. And then I have my regular cucumber plant that I put in there. I also put some carrots in the ground, so of course you can't see that, but I use these green dowels to indicate where those rows were. And then we have cabbage here. So we're going to try red cabbage. I do have to keep an eye on it, make sure we don't get any of the cabbage bugs, because those like to come about. I put the basil in the ground as well as the zucchini. And then over here we've got the peppermint and the cilantro plants. So then we did put the lettuce in the ground that we had and the kale to add to the other kale we already had in the ground. I do have a little bit of space left. What I'm going to do is start some more inside. Lettuce tends to grow fast, so if I start some now, as these mature, those other ones can develop, and then we will continuously have some lettuce this year, hopefully. And then over here on the side of the garage is where we put in the beans and the corn. So I have those planted. I did a little stake for everywhere that we had a bean seed. So I've done a total of 12 over here. Hopefully we have an abundance of green beans this year. Also, when I was planting the tomatoes, there was one extra that had taken in one of the sections. So I brought it over here. We're gonna see how one of the tomatoes does on the side of the garage versus in the back of the house, or back of the garage where I typically have them. So we got all of this in the ground. One thing I'm going to add where the corn is, where we just planted, is this classic coat. So it comes with a lot of nitrogen in it, which is what we kind of want for the corn. That's one thing that we think kind of fell apart last year, was not enough nitrogen. So I've already sprinkled some in the garden bed last week prior to this last thing of rain. So we're just going to give this a good healthy sprinkle here too. Just adds that nitrogen into the soil. Having the beans there is going to help also, but really we want to make sure that we are getting enough nitrogen in. So since we don't have a lot left in this container, I'm going to just sprinkle the rest of this in here, so that way we utilized all of it. And now I do have a different container that I'm going to be using going forward, because this one was no longer available at the nursery that I go to. So I have a different brand that I'm going to be using, but it's the same product, just under a different brand name. So we'll be sprinkling that in periodically throughout the time frame. The other thing I'm going to be putting here in the ground is for the tomatoes. It's these fertilizer spikes. So all these are these little spikes. We put them in the ground. It'll do kind of a release here for the tomato plants. Kind of put it in the ground near the roots, so that way they get this as a time release as they go through. This guy, oops. I'm trying to do this around the cucumber plants without having to get all the way back into the beds. Probably gonna have to for this one. I'm gonna climb in. And these guys are all in the ground now. I have 2 left in here. I do have that one that's over on the side, so not with the others. We're gonna put this on the table here. Come over this way. We'll give this guy as much help as we can. We're putting him in full sun, so I'm not sure how he's going to do, but he will get the same treatment as the other tomato plants that are in a more protected area. The last step was coming back, putting that fabric back on. We're putting it across the top. So this is primarily kind of protect against any inclement weather like hail, keep any animals from directly dive bombing onto my stuff as it grows, but know that with the cicadas I might or might not be fully successful, but 'tis what it is. It's what you have when you grow things outside. As a bonus, here's how the blueberries are doing. You can see we have a lot of blueberries coming in. I'm keeping this fabric on them until they are fully ready to pull, just because of the cicadas that we have. And as another bonus, here's cicadas for you. I do have a lilac bush here in my front area where I have the blueberries and the asparagus, and they are loving that. So this was Amanda, A.J.E, What We Do. I'll talk to you later.